guys, today we're going to make the Madrone Square named after the Madrone tree for the Vibrant Vintage Crochet Along Reboot 2018. And I will be using Shape Just Soft Fun in color 2612. So for this square, in my original draft of the square, I had the second to last round as a solid round, but I think I'm going to make it an eyelet round instead. So for this tutorial, I'm going to be adding in a chain and a skip one so that it's a little more open. So that's the only change I'm going to be making from the original. So for this square, you will need to make your slip knot and chain 3, or you can do a magic ring or chain 4, however you prefer to make your center ring. I like to chain 3 and then slip stitch into the first chain there, the third chain from the hook, to make my ring. Now locate the center of your ring. If it's small, it might be difficult, but find the center and make a beginning 2DC cluster. So how you make this is make a single crochet and then make a chain, and that's your beginning DC, and then make a regular full DC, and those two together count as your beginning 2DC cluster. So when you come around to join, you're going to join into the full DC, and you're going to let the beginning DC remain unworked. So now we're going to chain 2 and make 2DC cluster, and that is our repeat. We're going to do that 7 more times. I thought I would go ahead and come back before I tighten the tail. So I've been working over the tail so that whenever I pull it closed, you see it's open there. When I pull it tight, it closes up the center and it cinches it closed. And so now you can keep on working over the tail if you'd like to go ahead and weave it in as you go. So I've got my chain 2 on the hook right now, and I'm going to join my round. And how I do that is I go into the front 2 bars here of my first DC, and then go ahead and insert my hook and make a slip stitch. Okay, a pretty, not a loose slip stitch, but nice and snug so that it lays over your joining stitch. Okay, now round 1 is complete. And for round 2, we're going to start in the corner. So I'm going to make a slip stitch into my first chain. And now I'm at the center of my chain space. Make a beginning DC and chain 2. Beginning DC would be your single crochet in your chain, and then you're going to chain 2 more for your corner. Now I'm going to make 2 double crochets in the same chain space. And then chain 1, and you're going to make a popcorn in your next chain space. So what I do is make 4 double crochets. There's lots of ways to make a popcorn, but this is just my preferred way. So you make a 4 double crochets in that chain space. All right, so this is also called a bobble. Take the loop off your hook, insert the hook front to back through your first double crochet of the 4, grab the loop and pull it through to the front, and that closes to make your bobble or your popcorn. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and chain 1, and then I'm ready to make my corner in my next chain space. 2 DC, chain 2, and 2 DC in the same chain space. All right, and that is our repeat. So now we're going to jump into chain 1, make a popcorn, chain 1, and then your corner, 2 DC, chain 2, 2 DC. Okay, so I'll see you guys when I'm about to join my round. Okay, so I have my chain 1 on the hook right now, and for the completion of your first corner, you're going to go ahead and make a double crochet in your first chain space. And now you're ready to join because your first corner is complete. So I'm going to join with a slip stitch to that first beginning DC, and now I've completed round 2. So for round 3, I'm going to start at the beginning of the chain space with a beginning DC, and then 5 more DC in that same chain space. to make a total of 6 double crochets. Okay, so I've got 6 altogether, including the beginning one now. And I'm going to chain 1 and single crochet in my popcorn. And I think I do it in this little closing chain. That's what I would consider the top of the popcorn. So I'm going to make a single crochet in that popcorn there, and then chain 1 and go ahead into my chain space again, my chain 2 space for the corner with 6 double crochets. And that's our repeat. Right, I'm ready to join now. I've got my chain 1 on the hook here. I'm going to find that beginning DC and make my slip stitch in it. Okay, so working in the next stitch, I prefer to never work straight into my joining stitch just because I don't really care for the look of it. In your next stitch, you're going to start round 4 with a beginning 2DC cluster. So I'm going to make a beginning DC just like we did before and a full DC. And that is our beginning 2DC cluster. I'm going to chain 2, and in my next stitch, beginning 2DC cluster, 2DC cluster. But now I'm going to chain 3 because this is going to be my corner. Working into the next stitch, 2DC cluster, chain 2, next stitch, 2DC cluster. I'm ready to do that 3 times. So chain 2 again and 2DC cluster. All right, after that final 2DC cluster, we chain 2, and that's kind of how our corner is going to look. Chain 2, 2DC cluster, all right, and since we're in the corner now, we've got our first 3 2DC clusters made. We chain 3 instead of 2. Okay, so now that's our repeat. All right, so I have my round nearly complete. I just wanted to show you how when you chain 2 in between your corners here, you're just skipping over all of this chain 1, single, chain 1, and just only working into the DC stitches for this round. Okay, so I've got my final chain 2 on the hook here, and I'm going to work my last 2DC cluster. So that way my first corner is complete. Chain 2, and now we're ready to join. Joining into the first full DC of our beginning 2DC cluster with a slip stitch. And now that round is complete. Okay, so for the next round, 2 single crochet in our first chain space. And we're at the corner already. So it's 5 single crochet in the corner. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. 2 singles in our next chain space. 2 singles in the next chain space as well, and then 3 in this center chain 2 space. Okay. 2 singles in the next chain space. 2 in the next chain space as well, and we're at our corner again. So it's 5 in the corner, and that's going to be our repeat. Okay, so let me back up and look. So we've got 5 singles, then 2, 2, 3, 2, 2, and then 5 in the corner again. All right, so I'll be back right before I join the round. Okay, I'm ready to join the round now. So I'm going to make a slip stitch in my first single crochet. Okay, and now I'm going to slip stitch into the stitch right next to your joining. So find the stitch to the left and go ahead and slip stitch into it. Okay, so now I'm where I need to be, and in this next stitch, which is the first single crochet of your corner here, you're going to make a beginning DC. Single crochet, chain 1, or chain 3, chain up 3, however you prefer to do it. Then make another chain for your eyelet. And we're going to chain 1 there, how we just chained 1, and then skip 1. So we're going to skip this next stitch. And then in our next stitch, which is our very corner stitch, we're going to make DC, chain 3, DC, all in the same stitch. And that's our corner. All right, so now we're just going to chain 1, skip 1, DC, all the way across until we get to our next corner stitch. Chain 1, skip 1, DC. And what you're looking for here is that your middle double crochet is in that center single. And that's how you know that you've started off at in the right stitch. Okay, so I'll see you guys when I finish this round. Okay, so now I'm ready to join. I have my final chain 1 on the hook, and this is my beginning DC here. So I'm going to slip stitch into that top chain. All right, so for round 7 of this square, we're going to make just an SC round. So we're going to single crochet in our first chain space and into our first double, and then we're going to make 5 single crochets in the corner. All right, and then we're going to just work single crochet in all of the stitches and spaces across to our next corner, and 5 singles in the corner, and that's our repeat. So I'll see you guys in just a second. Okay, now we're ready to join our round. I'm going to make my last single crochet there and go ahead and join with the slip stitch in the first single crochet of the round. Right, and with my tail, I'm going to insert the hook back to front through both loops of the stitch to the left of the joining stitch, yarn over with my tail and pull it to the back. Insert the hook back to front through back loop only of the stitch to the right of the joining stitch, yarn over with my tail and bring it through to the back of the work. And that's how we're going to bury the rest of our tail. Insert hook back to front through back loop only of the next stitch, yarn over and pull the tail to the back, all the way until the tail is completely woven in. I split my yarn there, but that's okay. All right, just keep going with the next stitch and just make sure you grab back loop only and pull the yarn tail to the back every time. And that is the end of our Madrone Square. All right, guys, I hope you guys liked this square, and I will see you guys next time. Happy crafting, y'all.